Hello everyone, it's Brother Randy with SourMilkMinistries. Welcome to video 3, Liar, Liar, Pants on Fire. That is a reference to the claim that's propagated throughout Christendom, which is that the Sabbath day is the only one of the 10 Commandments not repeated in the New Testament. I'm sure that most of you have heard that, particularly so if you are one who's been investigating the Sabbath. You've undoubtedly heard that claim being made. In fact, I heard that claim so often that I simply accepted it as being a fact. I never questioned the claim, again, because I heard it so often. It's that old adage, if you hear a lie long enough and loud enough, you accept it as truth. I accepted it as truth. I guess one day I got bored and I figured I'd just go ahead and test that claim. And I did, and I was shocked at what I found. And I suspect that many of you will be shocked as well, and maybe even a little disgusted. So we're going to investigate this claim. Now, for those of you who have never heard that claim, I'm going to rectify that right now. I'm actually going to play a video clip of a pastor making the claim. And this is not just your ordinary run-of-the-mill pastor. No, on the contrary, this is a superstar in Christendom. This is an internationally known theologian. This is a gentleman who's been on television more times than I can count. He was a staple on Larry King. He's been on Fox News, and I'm sure he's been on a dozen other programs. Not only that, he has written his own study Bible, as well as a commentary series. And if that's still not good enough for you, how about being president of a Bible college? So this is no ordinary pastor. This is a superstar pastor. This is one of the voices of Christendom. So I'm going to let him tell you what I've represented. And then what we're going to do, we're going to simply test what he tells us. So let's go ahead and watch the video, and then we'll test it.
Welcome to Bible Q&A with John MacArthur. John's the author of the best-selling MacArthur New Testament commentary series. Well, John, some people say Christians still need to keep the fourth commandment. That's the one that says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. And Hebrews 4:9, it seems to echo that, saying, there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God. So the Bible tells us we should still be observing the Sabbath today. How should we understand the concept of the Sabbath?
Well, as we know, we have a brief opportunity to answer this question, but I think we can cover the ground pretty well. The command to remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy is not repeated in the New Testament. You say, is that important? It is important when you think that all the other 10 commandments are repeated, sometimes numerous times. So here is a commandment given originally that is not repeated in the New Testament, while all the other commands are not only repeated, but even elucidated in the New Testament. Further, it is true that in the New Testament there is a new day ordained. Sabbath was the seventh day of the week. The new day ordained after the resurrection of the Lord Jesus Christ for the life of the church is the first day of the week. Now, this is a brand new day. The principle to have a day set apart to worship God is still a valid principle contained in that commandment, but there's a new day, and that's what's called in the book of Revelation the Lord's Day. With regard to Hebrews 4:9, where it says there remains a Sabbath rest for the people of God, that Sabbath rest is talking about salvation. We have entered into a true rest by faith in Christ, which will lead finally to a heavenly rest. That's why Paul said, don't let anybody hold you to a Sabbath.
This is Bible Q&A with John MacArthur. If you'd like more in-depth teaching from John, go to MacArthurCommentaries.com.
Okay, there we have it. As you saw for yourself, Mr. MacArthur clearly stated that the Sabbath commandment is not repeated in the New Testament, whereas all the others are. Now, I want to show you that there's no misunderstanding of what the claim is here. The claim is just that all of the 10 commandments are repeated. They are restated. They are reiterated in the New Testament, except for the Sabbath commandment. I'm going to show you a transcript of one of his sermons. The sermon was entitled Understanding the Sabbath. There's some information about it. and I'm going to scroll down to page 11. What are some of his final thoughts here concerning the Sabbath? There's not one New Testament command to keep the Sabbath. All the 10 commandments are repeated in the New Testament except the one about the Sabbath. It is never quoted in the New Testament. It is never quoted in the New Testament. There is the context of what he means by being repeated, quoted. He is definitely talking about these commandments being quoted, being reiterated. So what we're going to do, we're going to go and we're going to test what he's telling us. Are these other commandments indeed quoted in the New Testament? So let's go and test what he told us and just see how trustworthy his words really are. Okay, here we are in Exodus 20. This is where we find the original account of the 10 Commandments in the Scriptures. And we are going to see if what Mr. MacArthur represents is indeed the case. In fact, we're going to start with the 10th commandment and work our way down. And the 10th commandment is found right here in Exodus 20:17. And we want to see if this commandment of thou shalt not covet is quoted in the New Testament. Now, this is the heart of the commandment. This is the commandment, thou shalt not covet. And then we get details of what we're not supposed to covet. I'm not trying to pull a fast one here. I'm just going to tell you that this is actually the concise quote that we're searching for. This is the heart of the commandment. If we did indeed search the entire verse, we would not find the verse. I'm specifically focused on the commandment itself. I am content if we find thou shalt not covet being quoted in the New Testament. That's good enough as a match for me. If anything, the more concise commandment is an advantage of proving Mr. MacArthur's words as being trustworthy. So let's see if we find this phrase, not the verse, this phrase quoted in the New Testament. This is a simple procedure. I simply right mouse click, hit search on selected phrase, New Testament. There we have it. The commandment is indeed quoted in the New Testament. Okay. We're going to apply the same process to the other 9. So we go to the 9th commandment, which is thou shalt not bear false witness. This is the commandment, not to bear false witness. These are the details. We're not trying to match the details. We want to simply match the commandment. So let's see if it's in the New Testament. Quick search on selected phrase, New Testament. There you go. Just like the 10th commandment, we find this commandment repeated twice in the New Testament. Let's go to the 8th commandment, which is thou shalt not steal. New Testament. There it is. Just like the previous 2, this one's also repeated twice in the New Testament. Let's go to the 7th commandment. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Search that phrase in the New Testament. This one's mentioned 3 times. 3 times. Let's go to the 6th commandment. Thou shalt not kill. Search the phrase. There it is. Thou shalt not kill. So far, so good. Let's go to the 5th commandment, which is honor thy father and thy mother. There you have it. 3 times. 3 times we are told in the New Testament to honor thy father and thy mother. A direct quote, reiteration of one of the 10 commandments. Now, here we go. The 4th commandment, to remember the Sabbath day. Let's see if we find that in the New Testament. Mr. MacArthur tells us it's not there, and he uses this omission to propagate the idea because it's not mentioned, not quoted in the New Testament like all the others are, that this somehow shows that it's gone. We need not worry about it. Well, let's see if it's there. There you have it. The commandment that he said would not be there is not there. There is no reiteration, quoting of remember the Sabbath day in the New Testament. So according to the template that's laid out, this means that we can ignore it. You see, it's not repeated. It's gone. It was done away with. So let's look at the third commandment. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain. Let's just confirm that Mr. MacArthur is correct and trustworthy. What's this? It's not found. Well, wait a minute. Mr. MacArthur said that it would be quoted in the New Testament. It's not there. Just like the fourth commandment, the third commandment didn't come back with any search results. Okay, well, we'll come back to this because there must be a problem here, right? So let's just confirm that the other two are there, the first two. Here's the second commandment, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. Let's just confirm that that's there. This one's not here either. Wow. Not only is the fourth commandment not there, but the third is not there, and the second is not there. Okay, let's just confirm that the very first commandment is there. Certainly that's going to be there. It's a nice, short, concise commandment. It's the first one mentioned. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. I mean, that's obviously going to be there, right? Surely it's there. Well, would you look at that? It's not there either. Wow. Isn't that interesting? That when we test this claim, we find that none of the first four commandments are quoted in the New Testament. Not a one of them. So I guess according to Mr. MacArthur's theory, we can all now have other gods. We can make idols. We can take his name in vain. And we can not keep the Sabbath. Hey, test it for yourself. Go get eSword. It's free. The program that I'm using, it's free. Go get it. Download it. It's a great program. You'll love it. This is inexcusable. This crosses the line of a mistake. Particularly when you have a gentleman by the caliber that's represented with Mr. MacArthur. Do you know how many people adore that man? It's inexcusable. This is the kind of nonsense that they teach you. And speaking of nonsense, now I don't mean to be disrespectful to Mr. MacArthur, but when you represent yourself as a renowned expert on a subject and you promote nonsense like this, you deserve some criticism. And unfortunately, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. When I read his sermons, when I hear the things, and I've studied a lot of his sermons, lots of them. I've studied his sermon on the Lord's Day and on the Sabbath. It literally makes me nauseous. It makes me sick to my stomach to read what he says. And again, this is a man who's so praised. It makes me sick. It makes me ill. And it's even worse when I see all the people he is deceiving. And they don't know. That's the thing about deception. You don't know you're being deceived. You know, you can choose to trust this man, or you can choose to test his words. You know, I've got some family members, their attitude is, well, what could I know that their pastor doesn't know? You know, he's Dr. So-and-so, right? Oh, he's been a preacher for 50 years and he's a doctor, and what could you know that he doesn't know? Well, it's not about what I know. You know what? It's about what's written in this book. Okay? That's all that matters. And I've said it before. It's not about what I say or what I believe or my opinion. You know what? It's about what's written in this book. And if you want to talk about what's written in this book, then you come to the right place. Okay? So it's inexcusable for this man and men like him to deceive people. And make no mistake about it. It's exactly what he's doing. It's exactly what he's doing. In fact, let's just go ahead and briefly talk about the other things that he said. He talked about, how there was a new day and it was ordained. Ordained? Ordained by who? Oh, the first day of the week was ordained. Well, where's the chapter and verse for that, Mr. MacArthur? Ordained by who? And of course, he made a reference to the resurrection. You see, after the resurrection on Sunday, you see, the early church, they adopted the Lord's Day because the Messiah met with some of his disciples. You know how pitiful it is? Listen, you got to grasp at straws. When you don't have any evidence of this doctrine of the Lord's Day that you're going to use to eliminate one of the 10 commandments, you have to grasp at things, and he does. You know, his example of the first worship service on Sunday. You know when that example of his first worship service was? It's right here in Matthew 28, when the two Marys went to the tomb on Sunday morning. Verse 9, and as they went to tell his disciples, behold, Jesus met them, saying, All hail! And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. MacArthur uses that as, you see, that's the first example of Sunday worship. We're ditching the Sabbath. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. So yeah, he mentions the resurrection. Because again, that's the very foundation of this false doctrine of the Lord's Day. You know, we Christians, we keep the Lord's Day, and those old Jews, they keep the law, they keep the Sabbath. One time we find the term the Lord's Day. Check out video 1. Video 1, the Lord's Day deception. This phrase is found once in the Bible, and it makes no mention of Sunday or Saturday or any other day. It's pathetic. It's pathetic. Then he goes on to mention Hebrews 4. Now, we're going to get into Hebrews 4. I can't wait to get into Hebrews 4. You know, it's kind of funny. So this whole video was around, well, John, the Bible says that we're supposed to keep the Sabbath. In Hebrews 4:9, it says a Sabbath rest remains for the people of God. Indeed, it does. Indeed, it does. So let me show you how deceptive these people are. They make a reference, for like the not making the graven image. There's a passage that says, flee from idols. Oh, look, see, it says flee from idols. There's the second commandment. Oh, that's not a quote. Flee from idols. That satisfies your requirement for the second commandment. Boy, you're being a bit liberal there, aren't you, John? I don't know specifically the ones that he used because that varies. So I don't know specifically which one John uses. It'd be interesting to find out. Go find out for yourself. Let me tell you what you won't find. You won't find any of the actual commandments being quoted as he represents. But my point is this. So they get so liberal on finding a verse to tell you that the first commandment, oh, look, there's the first commandment, there's the second, there's the third. Oh, that fourth one? Nope, not there. Well, wait a minute. What about Hebrews 4:9? Hebrews 4:9 literally says a Sabbath rest, a Sabbath keeping remains for the people of God. The Holy Bible, this book right here, Hebrews 4:9, says a Sabbath keeping remains. Boy, can you get any clearer than that? Not to mention, all the other mentions of the Sabbath. Go read the book of Acts. And on the Sabbath day we did this. On the Sabbath day we did that. And the next Sabbath day the whole town came together. And there's literally a verse that says a sabbatismos. Okay, it's a Greek word used once in the Bible. And it literally means a Sabbath keeping. A Sabbath keeping remains for the people of God. Hebrews 4:9. Well, that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? So here's a catchphrase I want you to remember. When you can't change the words, you simply change the meaning of the words. That's exactly what John MacArthur did. When you can't change the words, just change what they mean. Oh, yes, in reference to Hebrews 4:9 that says a Sabbath rest remains. Oh, that's a spiritual rest. That's a salvational rest. Forget the fact that Sabbatismos literally means a Sabbath keeping. And the verse literally says a Sabbath keeping remains. Oh, no. That's not what it means. Then he goes on to say, and which is why Paul tells us, did you catch that at the end? Which is why Paul tells us, don't let anyone hold you to a Sabbath. Paul never said those words, John. That's a reference to Colossians 2:16, which says, let no one judge you about the Sabbath. So he's twisted that into, don't let anyone hold you. Paul says not to be, don't let anyone hold you to a Sabbath. No, he didn't. You said that. In fact, here's another catchphrase that I want you to understand. Most of what you're being taught as a Christian is based on what your pastor and what Christianity says the Bible says, not on actually what it says. It's classic eisegesis versus exegesis. The doctrine that you're being taught is based on what your pastor and mainstream Christianity says that it says, and not on what it actually says. This is why you need to go home and you need to study the scriptures. But unfortunately, like I've represented in the opening video, the typical Christian doesn't scrutinize a thing. They just sit there and they suckle down garbage. And it's a shame. But you know what? There are some of you out there who actually care. You actually have a love for the truth. You actually hunger and thirst for righteousness. You're not comfortable with your religion. Your plate isn't full. These are some of the excuses I hear from my own inner circle. Oh, we're comfortable with our religion. Well, I'm glad you're comfortable with your religion. I'm not comfortable with mine. Okay? The word of God is too vast for me to be comfortable. Okay? Well, we're comfortable with our religion. Or I'm too old to change. Or the infamous, well, what could you know that my pastor doesn't know? I hear that a lot. Or, how could all these other people be wrong? Oh, well, I guess you didn't read the book where it mentioned how the road that leads to destruction is broad. But anyway, I think I've made my point. Okay? I think I've made my point. These men who you're trusting, that's your first mistake. Your first mistake is to trust any man, including me. Don't trust me. Pick up this book. Test what I say to see if it's true. And let me say this. I in my opening video, I called your pastor a parrot, seminary trained parrot. Now I'm sure I lost a lot of people right there. Well, I'm not going to listen to this guy. He just offended my pastor. He doesn't know my pastor. I beg to differ. This book tells me I know your pastor. I do know your pastor, Mr. Christian. Okay, because this book tells me I will know him by his fruit. His fruit. And you know what I know about your pastor's fruit? 99.9% of everyone hearing my voice right now is getting rotten fruit from their pastor. Rotten fruit. Okay? He's not a good tree, people. He cannot produce good fruit. Okay? A bad tree cannot produce good fruit, and a good tree cannot produce bad fruit. Now, what does that mean? It's real simple. A good tree does what this book tells you to do, which is to obey the voice of God, to don't stray to the left, don't stray to the right, keep on the straight path, don't add to my words, don't take away from my words. Okay? Don't add to, don't take away. What do Christians do? They take away. In fact, they take half the book. Oh, that's the Old Testament. Don't pay no attention to that. Oh, and one of the 10 Commandments? Yeah, don't pay attention to that either. Okay? They take away from his word. What did the Jews do? They added to his words. Jews added all kinds of man-made traditions, which is what the Messiah railed against. But unfortunately, people mistake what the Messiah did as, oh, look, he's railing against the Sabbath. He's against the Sabbath. He even broke the Sabbath. Look, it says he broke the Sabbath. You got preachers up there telling people the Bible teaches that the Messiah. Look, it says right here, Jesus, not only did he break the Sabbath, because they don't know context if it jumped up and bit them. We're going to talk about that claim. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Christians take away and the Jews add. Both are wrong. It's every bit of a sin to add to his word as it is to take away his word. So you better find somebody who doesn't do that. Okay? Who doesn't do that. That's the good tree. Following these instructions. In other words, if you follow this book, if you don't add to his word or you don't take away from his word, you are a good tree, and it is impossible. This is what this parable means. It's impossible for a good tree to produce bad fruit, because a good tree is obedient to this book. How can you fail? This book is perfect in righteousness. It defines righteousness. Okay? It literally defines righteousness. So if you follow what's written in it, you will never produce a piece of bad fruit. It will be perfection if you can achieve it. Okay? But a bad tree, what's a bad tree? Somebody who adds to this book and takes away from this book. They will never produce fruit that isn't blemished. That's what that parable means. So yes, I do know your pastor. I know him by his fruit, and he's a bad tree, and he's teaching you rotten things. Okay, I've made my point in this video. You've seen that this claim is indeed a lie, hence why I said, liar, liar, pants on fire. You better start checking the things that your pastor teaches you. That is, if you actually care. And you know what? Like I said in the first video, if you don't care, hey, Most High's got something for you. It's called deception, delusion. And he's gonna send you off on it. You better start caring, people. Now, on that note, as much as I want to jump into Hebrews 4, which I'm going to do, I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to do you a favor. That is, to those out there, and there are many of them, who you want to hear it, but you don't want to hear about the Sabbath because you're like, okay, number one thing, I have to work on Saturday. How can I keep the Sabbath? I have to work on Saturday. I have to work. I can't quit my job. We'll talk about that. Okay, you're going to like what I'm going to tell you. I'm also going to say things that are going to step on my brothers and sisters' toes who actually keep the Sabbath. Because believe it or not, the majority of people that keep the Sabbath, some of the things that they do, some of the prohibitions that they honor are unbiblical. And it makes the Sabbath a burden. So we're going to talk about that too. I'm going to lighten this. I'm going to make the scriptures say that his commands are not a burden. They're not burdensome, and they aren't. Although I'm telling you right now, I didn't want to keep the Sabbath. It would seem like a burden to me, Jack. I got grass to cut. I got things to do. I didn't want to keep the Sabbath. Now, I'm not going to get into that. I'll say that for the next video. We're going to talk about how you don't need to be afraid to learn this, what to do about that job. So check out my next video.